Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard, entering week 7 in the UFL. So we're on the final little bit. We'll do our predictions for this week, and then we'll have a separate video also where we're doing power rankings, and we are going to give our predictions for UFL MVP because we're over halfway through the season, and some good candidates are sticking out. Smokey, how are you doing?
I am good. For once, I don't have to say the Renegades because even though it a loss, they looked a little better than this other team. I am better than Showboats fans right now. Showboats are horribly bad at this point in time, and it doesn't look like if you throw out Case Cookus or Troy Williams, they're going to be just as bad. I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a tough week for them also, even though they're facing a team that is undefeated at this time. I don't know how that's going to turn out for them. But other than that, how are you, Alex?
I'm good. I'm better than almost any fan base in the league. My favorite team is the undefeated Stallions. My second team are the second best Battlehawks. This season could not have gone better for me than it is going at the moment. So far, it is perfect. However, those teams are clashing this week. So, one of them is going to have to take a loss one way or the other. And it feels like this week we have the most polarized schedule we've had for the whole season so far. So how about we check the first one? You already mentioned it, the stinker, the Tank Bowl. Boats at the Renegades here. One win between them.
Oh, man. You are absolutely right. This is the hardest week, I think, of this season to pick because these teams are all evenly matched in their own right. But this one right here, the Showboats and Renegades, you got a team that has one win versus a team that has no wins. I will say this about the Renegades and Luis Perez. He is still the passing yards leader in this entire league. The guy is playing great. The only problem is he doesn't have a team around him that can put up wins. That defense is absolutely horrible. The offensive line is absolutely horrible. And he is making chicken salad out of chicken crap at this point. It's amazing that Bob Stoops is a defensive coach who can't put together a defense. I don't understand why, but maybe it's because he's an Oklahoma man. That's the only explanation I can get for it. John DeFilippo on the other side is not doing very well either. Like I said, if you throw out Case Cookus or Troy Williams, it seems like they're not going to win another single game. It makes you amazed at how they won in week 1 in phenomenal fashion at that. And I think, wasn't it against the Battlehawks too? It's crazy. It's crazy that happened like that. And ever since then, they've been on a downward slide, a downward spiral. It is going extremely bad for them. Darius Victor and Davion Smith on their respective teams were the running backs who carried the load. Doesn't really matter though. You know what? I said I was never going to pick this team again. But it just so happens that the Showboats are their opponents this week. Oh my god. I'm not picking the Showboats, man. And not after that week. I think they have a better chance if they play Case Cookus, but I don't know. Case Cookus looks absolutely horrible last week. Also, they had to bring in Troy Williams. I think they're probably going to start Troy Williams. I'm not sure about that. I think either way they're going to lose, to tell you the truth. I'm doing it. I am going back on my word and picking the Renegades at home for this week. They're going to get their first win of the season.
Get it done and then just stop for the rest of the year, right?
Yes.
Just get the monkey off your back, I guess. So this is the one opportunity you have to do it. You tried against the Roughnecks and it didn't work. And by the way, the Roughnecks were the team that the Boats beat at the start of the season.
That's what
Panthers beat the Battlehawks in week 1. They both scored 18 points, that's why you get a mistake. And so even then, the Boats don't really have a credible win to their name because the Roughnecks are arguably just as bad. Man, this is the worst tank bowl I've seen. If Luis Perez is making that chicken salad, you should just stop trying to garnish up chicken crap and serve it vegetarian.
Yeah.
It will be better for everyone at this point. Man, I don't know how to pick this one, but to be honest with you, I didn't think you were going to because you kind of swore this oath that you would never pick the Renegades again. I was just going to give it to them for being at home. Yeah. Because, like, I've won my bet. The point is home. kind of feel bad for him now. I don't want a team to like go 0-10. That would be very rough, especially after coming off of winning your championship, your conference last year. Yeah, I have to pick the Renegades too. I have to give them this one. This is probably the last reasonable one they really have a good shot at winning. And like you said last week, again, they had a kind of game where, yeah, they were good. They stuck with him, and in classic Renegades fashion, they lost. The kick return, the penalties, just gave it up yet again when they didn't need to against a much better opponent. But I will give them this one. Doesn't matter who quarterbacks the tugboats. Renegades win, they get it done at home, and then we can stop making fun of them, for God's sakes. But on the other hand of this Saturday, we have the game of the year.
Yeah.
The worst game of the year, followed by the possibly best game of the year, and the likely foreshadowing of the UFL championship game. Battlehawks at Stallions.
Wow. This is just as tough to pick for the exact opposite reason, because both of these teams are absolutely on fire right now. Where do I start? A.J. McCarron kind of had an off week last week, but we know that the Roughnecks' defense is actually pretty decent. For as bad as their offense is, their defense is actually pretty good. And they kind of took it to the Battlehawks there, but as we know, they don't have enough firepower to beat the Battlehawks. Not many teams do, but here's a team that possibly can, and the undefeated Stallions, the Spring League champions of the universe right here. This is the only team that there's even a conversation about beating the Stallions. And Jacob Saylor's had a bad week last week. Hakeem Butler was having a phenomenal week, but I think he suffered somewhat of an injury. I haven't seen the update if he's going to be able to play or not. But they are hoping so, because although they have Jacor Pearson, they absolutely need Hakeem Butler if they're going to have a chance at winning this game. On the other side, Ricky Person, C.J. Marable, Kevin Austin was out there. You know what? Adrian Martinez is a phenomenal passer. It's almost the opposite of what I've been saying about this guy, is he's a running quarterback. We saw that twice. We'll talk about Danny Etling later, but two quarterbacks that absolutely went in the opposite direction of their recent trends. But Adrian Martinez is probably going to be the starter for the rest of the season, and who knows, he may put himself into MVP talks after this game if they can pull it off. I feel like whoever wins this game is going to lose the championship, because it's so hard to beat a team twice in a season. And I do feel like these two teams are going to be in the championship game. So I have to give it to the home team right here, which means I think the Battlehawks probably win this entire thing. I just don't think it's going to happen right here, because it's the Stallions. They are in Birmingham. A.J. McCarron is coming off of one of his worst games of the season, although he didn't play that bad. Still one of his worst games. Skip Holtz has an altar and an effigy set up at his house to a certain deity of the dark variety, which gives him wins and wins and wins, and it's going to happen again. I am going with the Stallions at home.
The kind of things you make up whenever a team you don't like is just winning, huh?
Yeah.
Man, you're making it sound like he's like the UFL incarnation of Belichick.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
Man. Yeah, AJ McCarron had a great game, and you still, as you said, maybe even not one of his best. So that goes to show you how good he is. Mm-hmm. Now, we should definitely be up there in the MVP conversation, which we'll talk about in the next video. But, man, this is the game we've been waiting for, probably the championship. I'll make it short. I'm taking Birmingham. I'm going with the Stallions. Number one, I picked that team to be my main team, my main favorite team ahead of the season, over the Battlehawks. Secondly, they are at home. Playing it in St. Louis would be a whole other level of difficulty. I think that would probably flip my prediction. And also, Adrian Martinez is the one guy who seems to be able to match AJ McCarron now in the passing game. And if this becomes the shootout we think it is, with both defenses kind of hurt by injury a little bit. Of course, Stallions are missing Scooby Wright, which is awful, as one of their most important playmakers on defense missing. But if this turns into the shootout we think it will be, with 4 touchdowns on either side, I believe in the Stallions' power to be able to get it done against this Battlehawks offense that seems unstoppable at times. So Stallions at home, keeping the streak alive, staying perfect 7-0. By the way, the Stallions have clinched the playoffs after playing 60% of their games. I don't know if that has ever been done in professional sports, or at least recently. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been done. Moving to the Sunday games, we have one that's, I guess, kind of interesting. These are two teams in playoff contention. At the Panthers, at the maybe revived DC Defenders.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Defenders are thinking they are going to be in the XFL championship game. And I can't really doubt that at this point after watching them beat the Brahmas, because the Brahmas were that team who was supposed to play the Battlehawks for the division, right? But the Defenders come away with a win there. And I don't know what to make of it, to tell you the truth. I will say that Alex Ellis was out there, the tight end, and I hadn't seen that name since he was in bouncing around teams in the NFL. He did play with Josh Dobbs at Tennessee back in the day. If you remember that decent little run that Tennessee went on back in 2016. But it's cool to see him out there again. So maybe he can play his way back into the NFL. Who knows? Chiefs, Eagles, Jaguars. He got playing time back in the day. But I was going to mention Danny Etling. I guess he listened to our show last week, because I said this guy has no ability to run. I pretty much said he was a statue out there. I was like, this is the least mobile quarterback in the league, but he's a decent passer. No, he came out there and started running the ball this week. Even the announcers were like, what is he doing? Like, this is not Danny Etling. But he pulled it off. Wes Hills and Matt Colburn carried the load there. And it's still cool to see that Sayosi Mariner and Samson Nakua. It's crazy. There's 2 Nakuas.
There's a lot of Nakuas.
Yeah, there's 2 of them in this league. I thought there was only the one, the defensive guy. But, yeah. Samson is out there also. It's crazy. That's what's cool about these spring leagues, is every week you see a new name that you hadn't noticed before. And you're like, wow, he's in here too? After all these weeks, we're still discovering these guys. But yeah, Trey Quinn is probably the second guy outside of Sayosi Mariner now at this point. I'm kind of waffling because I really don't know who I'm going to pick here either. I feel like the Defenders may be making that push. They may actually be making that push. And if they're going to have that chance, they have to get this win, because the Brahmas are facing the Roughnecks, which should be an easy win for them. They have to have this one, and they are at home. I think Jordan Teamu could take them to it, unless Jake Bates, which is probably the real MVP of this league, pulls off another 60-yard something field goal and wins the game at the very end, which he seems to do that a lot. But for now, I will be taking the Defenders at home.
I wanted to disagree with you on a lot of picks this week, but you seem to be taking mine. See, I still have a little bit of dislike remaining from last season for the Defenders. They were the reason the Battlehawks did not make the playoffs, in part at least, in the XFL. Also because they played bad themselves, but they didn't make it, so that's at least part of why I blame them. Now, the Defenders are the most inconsistent team in the league. I mean, they are flip-flopping every single week. I don't know what to think of them. I think Jordan Tamu is probably slightly better, more proven quarterback than Danny Etling, but any given week, looking at him, you can't tell at the moment. And the Panthers seem to get it done when they need to. They look worse than their record almost every week, but they seem to get it done. And against the Renegades, they were losing for the longest time, and I mean, they were down and out. And then a completely crazy sequence of events at the end of the game, last drive, led them to yet again winning it, and then they have a kicker that's just, I mean, he's going to be one of the best kickers in the NFL next year, or this season. Give me the Panthers, though. I don't like the consistency of the Defenders. Yeah, they had a great game, upset the Brahmas, and kept the XFL division interesting, so thank you for that, but it's time for them to have a down game again, and they're going to lose here. They're going to lose at home to the Panthers. The Beer Snake is sad. Brahmas are probably going on to the XFL Championship. Speaking of the Brahmas, they have a kind of wide open door to walk through this weekend, winning in Houston against the Roughnecks. So what do we think about this one?
It's a yeah. If you would ask me before this past week, I would have said, yeah, easily. The Brahmas are easily going to beat the Roughnecks, right? The Roughnecks are really bad outside of their decent defense. They have no offense, and their offensive line is probably the worst in the league. And there's some bad offensive lines in this league for sure. But Quentin Dormady had an absolutely horrible game. I thought maybe he was on this thing where he's going to have one good game, one bad game, and just flip-flop. But no, he's had 2 bad games in a row. And if they're going to stick with Quentin Dormady, this is going to be a game for them because that defense is something that can put it on, and Quentin Dormady is going to go down a lot. So I don't have any faith for Quentin Dormady to do this through the air, regardless if John Cherry Kirkland is out there and Cody Latimer. You got phenomenal receiving guys, but you got a quarterback that can't get the ball to him. I've lost all faith. He showed flashes in the past. He showed a little bit of flash last season. He's shown some flash this season. But now, after those 2 games, I've lost all faith in Quentin Dormady. I don't think he's going to be anything. On the other side, though, the Roughnecks have Reed Sinnett. He's not any better, in my opinion. I think Mark Thompson quit the league because of that game last week. I'm pretty sure he quit. I think Mark Thompson.
It sounded like it.
Yeah, I think he's out of the league now. I don't know that he comes back. It's going to be all on TJ Pleasure to get it done at this point. Yeah, so it doesn't inspire confidence on either side here. But I guess I will go with the overall record and say that the Roughnecks are just better at losing than the Brahmas are. But don't have any faith in Quentin Dormady. They should have traded for Luis Perez, and they would definitely be in that XFL division game. But here we are, taking the Brahmas on the road.
Yeah, at this point, that's kind of prophetic. Yeah, the Brahmas with Perez would be a legitimate force, it feels like. As they were with Chase Garbers, by the way. He went down with an injury. And that was a downgrade, undoubtedly, what they're doing now. And it wasn't enough against the defenders. I think 2 things are working for the Brahmas. And one of those 2 things is that their division is, other than the Battlehawks, not that strong. I think the defenders are not capable of winning it by themselves, and the Renegades, of course, are already eliminated. So, or I guess not mathematically, but the Renegades are out, okay? So that's what's working for the Brahmas, and also they already have their 4-2 record, and they're playing against the Roughnecks now. They're probably going to win and kind of drag themselves across the finish line with 1 more win over the next 3 weeks following this one, which should be enough at 6 wins. Because they do have to play the Battlehawks, so the defenders. But this one is, Houston's a mess. I mean, yeah, they can play defense a little bit, but they're not consistent. They don't put pressure on anyone. With Mark Thompson gone, they're not going to run the ball. They weren't able to pass the ball all season. The Brahmas have no choice but to win this. And if it's only on the shoulders of the running game, that's fine. They probably have the best running back in the league right now. Just keep running the ball. San Antonio gets it done here. Go to 5-2 and probably push themselves over the line. So we agreed on all but 1 game here. The defenders. I ended up taking the Panthers in the last second.
Yes, you did.
That was the one. And one thing I forgot to ask before we did the predictions. Our standings from last week.
Oh, man, I did not want to talk about that. Because
sounds like it's looking good.
Yeah, you gained another point. And the reason was Quentin Dormady. That is the absolute reason. You somehow...
That's the reason.
Yeah.
That's right.
There was no reason for the defenders to win that game. But like I said, they are coming out of that game with a little bit of momentum. So there's that, and that's why I went with the defenders this week. But Quentin Dormady absolutely lost that game. For me, the Brahmas should have easily won that game, in my opinion. But this changes everything for the momentum of both of those teams there. 3 on the week for me. Again, 4 on the week for you. You have 2 weeks back-to-back of getting all 4 right.
Man.
Total 14 for me, 19 for you. We need more disagreements than this if I'm ever going to catch up, though.
Yeah, we need more in the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can make it 3 perfects in a way. I think you need to have this one. You need to have the defenders this week.
Yeah.
If not, it's be
unless we disagree on
6
game
points in 3 weeks
going forward.
Yeah, we can do this thing where I go first, or we take turns going first on games from next week on, so it's like more fair.
Yeah. All right.
Let's do that.
I really thought.
So that's our predictions.
I really thought you were going to disagree with me a lot on this week here.
Yeah, I did on the Panthers. That's the only
one game. Yeah, I thought maybe you would take the showboats and
the boats. Yeah. No, I was gonna give the Renegades their one way. Maybe that's my downfall. Maybe I should have picked the boats. But I can't do it. That is our predictions for Week 7. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you have any particular opinions? Foreshadowing maybe for the championship game, do you think the Brahmas defenders, that seems to be like the hottest remaining race probably for the next 3 weeks? So let us know what you think about it. Let us know your predictions. So drop us a like, and we're going to see you in the next video where we discuss MVP and power rankings. See you then. Welcome back to another video. We are talking about the UFL, and with 60% of the season in the books and Week 7 around the corner, which we've done our predictions for, by the way, if you want to go check those out. It's time to talk about season awards here, and also get a sort of an outlook as we're nearing the playoffs. Smokey, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I am good. Better than I guess any one of these guys who thought they were going to be in the running for the MVP. That is not 2 names. I guess I can't really mention them right now. So anybody but the 2 names I will be mentioning later.
Okay. Do you have 2 names to mention?
I do, yes.
I also have 2 names to mention, but I have one honorable name to mention as well, which I guess we'll get there. Well, let's do power rankings first. So after 6 weeks, we have a pretty good idea, I think. At the start of the season, if you remember, our power rankings went wildly different. There was a time when you had the undefeated Renegades, I think at number 2.
3.
Or at 3.
Yeah.
At 3, yeah. I remember that occurred once. And, well...
you know what's crazy is that I've been listening to shows here and there. The Renegades are moving back up people's power rankings without ever winning a game. so there's that.
Has any Owen whatever team ever not been last in any power rankings?
I don't think so. But they're doing it
to
somehow.
Imagine it. Well, they have the prime chance to win this week and move up straight spots with the showboats in the power rankings, potentially, this week, as if they can pull it off against Memphis. But how are your power rankings looking here in the UFL?
Well, I kind of foreshadowed that I did move them up just a little bit because regardless of their record, their offense is just good. Luis Perez is just too good to be in last place. You are the passing leader of the entire league. You are the second-ranked offense in the entire league. Now, there's something that's probably never happened before. How can you be number 2 in total offense for the entire league, yet have 0 wins? Has that ever happened in the history of football before? That somehow...
Hard to.
Yeah, I mean... Maybe, well, I was going to say maybe the Grits Blitz, the Falcons of 77, when they had the number 1 ranked defense and the dead last offense in the entire league. But then again, they went 500, which that's how that should work out, right? You should go 500.
Yeah.
Yet the Renegades have 0 wins and the second best offense. I don't know. It makes no sense.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Through 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You score so many points, it's hard to avoid winning a game here.
I know. It's like they're trying to lose games at this point. It's like Perez is the only one that is trying to win games, and the rest of the team has said, no, we do not want to win games. I don't know. It makes no sense. But we all have to agree that the Stallions are still number 1, and the Battlehawks are still number 2. That could change after this week. If you listen to our predictions, I don't plan on that changing this week, but it is a possibility. So those guys are probably going to stay at number 2. Number 3 for right now is the Panthers. The Brahmas dropped down because because they took that loss. And with Quentin Dormady, I don't see them finishing in the top 3 for sure. So I got the Panthers at number 3. I had to put the Defenders at number 4 because they just beat the Brahmas, and that knocks the Brahmas all the way down to number 5, where they were number 3 last week. Number 6, I have the Renegades, because Luis Perez is just better than the Showboats and the Roughnecks, and that follows up 7 and 8, Showboats and Roughnecks.
Remind me, did Luis Perez beat the Roughnecks when he played the Roughnecks?
No, he didn't. But, actually, I will say this. Luis Perez did. The rest of the team did not. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were scored. I did not know that quarterbacks were scored by themselves. I guess Aaron Rodgers won 6 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Because the team he was on happened to never, I guess that's what it must have been. Okay, that's fair. I didn't I didn't know that. That's how it worked. Okay, sounds good to me.
Uh-huh.
All right. Stallions 1, Battlehawks 2, Lockerman, top 2 teams, right? Probably the championship game. Couldn't be better for me. I love both teams. Panthers at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I will put the Brahmas above the Defenders. Give me the Brahmas at 4, Defenders at 5. The Defenders are the classic 500 team. In fact, I want to say they're going to end this season 5-5. They're flip-flopping all over the place. Good big game followed by bad game, and bad game followed by good game. Doesn't quite get it done if the Brahmas can manage to win 2 more games. They're playing the Roughnecks this week. Go figure. I think the Brahmas will crawl over the finish line and get stomped out by the Battlehawks, but to me they're just that slight bit ahead of the Defenders due to their early good start. Boats at 6 for me. Not much of a difference here with the Showboats and the Roughnecks. I feel like the Roughnecks look a bit more inept offensively, so they're harder to watch. I guess that's why I'm giving the Showboats the point, or the jump above the Roughnecks, because they're more watchable, I think. Listen, the Renegades are 0-6. They don't belong anywhere but in the bottom. They have not beaten another team. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And they've played 6 teams. They're playing the last team now. It's the Showboats. It's one of the worst. Now, I'm not going to give the spoiler of what we predicted, because people can go watch the other video, but they have to win if they want to not be 8th, right? We can all agree that if the Roughnecks lose this, they are last in the power rankings forever until next season, and no one can say anything else about that.
You mean the Renegades?
They've officially lost to... Yes, the Renegades. Yeah. They've lost to the entire league if they don't win this one against Memphis.
Yeah.
So that's how we're sticking. I think I need to have the Brahmas over the Defenders. I think the Defenders probably, if they faced off, should be favored slightly. But their matchups are harder. For the Brahmas, it's easier to get over the finish line. They kind of carved that lead out at the start of the season, and it's going to carry them over.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I have to think about that. I don't see these power rankings changing much anymore. By the way, I think the top 2 are very clear. The bottom 2 or 3 can be shuffled around. Other than that, I'm pretty confident we're going to stay. Or do you see any team that's a big surprise, either positive or negative, over the last 3-4 weeks here?
No, not necessarily. I expect it to end pretty much like this. Now, I will say if the Renegades win this week, they can't really be below the Showboats, right? You know what? I should have even put the Showboats at number 8. I don't even know why. I think the Roughnecks, because of that defense, is better than the Showboats even. So I should be knocking the Showboats down to number 8, to tell you the truth. And probably the Roughnecks still should be at number 6. The Roughnecks, then the Renegades, and then the Showboats in dead last. But if the Renegades do lose, then they have no other place. Regardless of how much offense they can put out there, if their defense is just that bad, then they can't be anywhere other than 8th at this point, because you've been beaten by every team in the league. I don't know.
Every single team.
Such an anomaly, though. Like, how do you have the second-ranked offense in the entire league, yet you haven't
leading passer, too.
Yeah, exactly. How do you do that without winning a single game? It just makes absolutely no sense.
Terrible defense, terrible special teams. The San Diego Chargers once had the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the NFL. And they did not make the playoffs because their special team was that bad. That's how severely one
What year was that?
Must have mid 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Like it was the LaDainian Tomlinson time. I have to dig it up, but it was mid 2000s, not that long ago. That's how important it is to have a full team union that where everyone can kind of carry their weight, at least a little bit. Because one terrible unit is going to drag you down, and that's the defense, and to a lesser degree the special teams of the Renegades now, even with the leading passer. And I guess that gets us into the second part of the conversation, leading passer type. This league's going to have an MVP as it last 2 years as well, of course, following Alex Magoo. Go Stallions. What do you think about the MVP conversation this year? You said you had two serious mentions.
Yeah.
So, do you want to reveal them?
Yeah, I will. And I will say one more thing about Luis Perez is that if you guys would have won some of these games, if you had 2 losses right now, Luis Perez is absolutely in the conversation. There's no way you can't be. You're the leading passer. You've put together a phenomenal offense. It's just horrible that your team sucks that bad, and you have Bob Stoops as a coach. So there's that. Luis Perez should be in this conversation, but you can't be because your team sucks, and that's a horrible situation. Bad for Luis Perez. Well, at the beginning of the year, I would have thought Case Cookus would probably be in this conversation also, but he absolutely is not. There are 2 names that are up there. A lot of people would have thought Jordan Teamu also. Right now, 1 name stands at the top, and 1 name is knocking on the door. The reason number 2 is only knocking on the door because he hasn't started every game of this season. He was bouncing back and forth with Matt Corral. That's Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez is in the number 2 spot for me right now. If he finishes the season as the starter and we don't keep playing this flip-flop game, the quarterback hokey pokey that Skip Holtz likes to do, and we keep changing him out, he's not going to have a chance at this. But right now, if he finishes the season playing exactly like he has these past 2 weeks, he's going to be in that conversation. But A.J. McCarron will have to lose it somehow. A.J. McCarron right now stands above the entire field, and as long as he plays to par with his standards for the rest of the season, there's no way anyone is going to beat him. It's just not possible because most of these quarterbacks have been changed out, like I said, anyway. And there's no other quarterback starting right now that's going to be in that. Maybe a running back. I know you had mentioned John Lovett earlier. Maybe somebody like that. Jacob Saylors on A.J. McCarron's team has had a really good week or a really good season, but he had a bad week last week. So I don't know if that takes him out of the running. Ricky Person, maybe, even though C.J. Marable is technically the number 1. Ricky Person has carried the number 1 duties over the past few weeks. But I don't think there's any tight end that will ever win this, even though Cody Latimer and Jay Sternberger maybe should be in consideration, but it'll never happen. Right now, it's A.J. McCarron in the lead.
Yeah, I agree with that. I couldn't have said it any better what you said. It's McCarron and Martinez. It's a 2-horse race at this point, with McCarron, to me, getting the advantage for having by far the most passing touchdowns, having started every game, over 100 passer rating. Now, Martinez has the rushing game as another point of his strength, which should be included. He's the second leading rusher in the UFL. That's a big deal, especially for a guy who hasn't played every game and still is a competitive passer. So he can possibly take the lead this week if he has a convincing win and performance against McCarron. This at home in Birmingham. But here's a dark horse name I wanna throw out there. And this is not just a hipster pick. This is because this is this is actually possible. How about Jake Bates, a kicker for MVP of the league? This guy scored 36 points. Yeah. Listen, 36 points. He's kicking 50, 60 yarders all over the place. He just last weekend came off of a 5 field goal performance, winning the game single-handedly, including a 60-yarder against Arlington and saving the Panthers. But if the Panthers make the playoffs, this is the single reason why they do. Because they did not have a consistent quarterback. They did not have a consistent running game. Their defense has been, okay, but not as good as they were last year. this is the best player on the team by far,
Mm-hmm.
and the team's most valuable player. And that's not a meme or a joke or no. That's not a figure of speech. Jake Bates is the most valuable player on the Panthers. Because if he was replaced by like your average UFL kicker, they'd have won like 1 or 2 games at most, maybe just one. Because their wins were close too.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
This guy's the team's MVP, that's for sure.
yeah, oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And he's going to be in the NFL. I don't have any doubt about that. There's too many kickers that he could replace. And it's not, there's no difference in skill level from kicking in the UFL to kicking in the NFL. If
No.
you can hit 60-yard field goals, you can hit 60-yard field goals regardless of what league it's in. So this guy is going to...
UFL kickers have been great, and him at the top.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be back in the NFL. No doubt about it. He's definitely the best player on the team. I've been saying that hyperbolically since like week 2 that this guy is the MVP of the league. Don't think he's going to win. I mean, it's just way too out of the ordinary for a kicker to win. And A.J. McCarron would have to really do something. A.J. McCarron and Adrian Martinez would really have to take a downward slide for that to happen, just because no one's going to vote for a kicker for MVP. But he may actually be the most valuable player in the league.
He just might be. He just might be. And you know what? Back in the leather helmet era, kickers won MVPs.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the NFL. Because people used to play multiple positions. Kickers was one of them. But kickers used to be a big deal back in the day. I'll say bring it back. Why not? Well, the two quarterbacks of my 2 favorite teams are currently vying for MVP, so that's why not. But if that weren't the case, if this was like Jordan Tiamu and some... the Case Cookers or something, 2 players I don't care that much about, I would be rooting for the kicker for sure. But that's our piece, our power rankings, our MVPs. You at home, please let us know what you think about both of these. Anything that you have grievously disagree with, or is there even a 5th name in the MVP conversation that has not been mentioned? We had Bates, Lovett, and of course the 2 quarterbacks. Is there anyone else that maybe comes to mind, a dark horse candidate that can come in and kind of swoop it up over the last 4 weeks? So let us know what you think in that regard. Thank you for watching, and we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.